you, and everyone's dying to know what both of you have to say about this. Let's go now to Congressman Ron Paul from the great state of Texas, who's joining us to tell us why Congressman Paul, are you there?
I'm here.
Good. Let's start with this.
Okay.
Your president is telling you that you need to pass this thing. He's a Republican, you're a Republican, and yet everything that I'm reading in your blogs and everywhere else is you're dead set against it. Why?
Well, because I think you're punishing the wrong people for some bad mistakes. I think even if they weren't trying to solve the problem, they're doing the wrong thing. I see the problem coming out of the fact that Congress spends too much, taxes too much, the Federal Reserve inflates too much, and we over-regulate, and that's what we're doing. A lot more of the same, but all the pain and suffering is passed on to some people who had nothing to do with the problem, trying to bail out some people who ended up with a lot of illiquid assets.
So what would you suggest we do then as an alternative?
Well, of course, we should have done a lot less, a lot sooner and prevented the problem, but we have the problem now, which is not something brand new. We've had this throughout all of history where people participate in these bubbles, and it shows that the sooner you liquidate the bad debt and the malinvestment and get it over with, the better we are.
Well, that's interesting. Let me read something. I just went to your website, and on the very first page of your website, Ron Paul, what is it, ronpaul.com? Is that right?
Well, I have several. That would be the
Ron Paul for President 2008.com. My producer just told me. All right, here's what it says from your website. Quote, I think we may have this. Angie, do we put this together? What a heroic day. The people rose up against a coalition of every evil group in America. The central bank, Wall Street plutocrats, politicians, banksters, think tanks, including the pseudo-libertarian sort, big media, big academia, and big business, and won. Today we get a taste of what things may look like when the regime is finally toppled and its theft and killing stopped. Wow. Do you agree? Do you agree with that?
Well, I think those are, I don't know exactly which words you're quoting from where and when, but yes, a lot of innocent people, were getting blamed, and they stood up. The bill went down yesterday, not because Pelosi gave a speech that annoyed some people. It went down because millions and millions of American people said they don't want to participate in that, and the politicians in Washington finally woke up and saw that this was a deal for special interests and wasn't going to help the average citizen.
So this was a populist decision on the part of the elected officials?
Well, I think so. On some part it was purely political, another part it was very philosophic, and it was, tough on some and not so tough on others. I mean, it wasn't very hard for me to know what I was supposed to do.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's in keeping with much of the statements that you have made in the past, many of which you were castigated for in criticizing this particular administration in the past by people like Rudy Giuliani, for example, in one of the debates. It's interesting the way things... By the way, and we're down to about 10 or 20 seconds. Given what's going on, do you feel somewhat vindicated?
Well, in a way, but, ideas, nobody has a monopoly on ideas. I don't feel like they're my unique ideas. I have followed Austrian free market economics for a good many years, and they've been correct on their predictions. So just because I predicted this was coming about doesn't mean that I was clairvoyant as much as I understood the business cycle. And I think others get credit for this.
Congressman Ron Paul, we thank you, sir, for taking time to talk to us today about this most important, pressing issue.
Thank you.
All right, the markets are going to close in 20 minutes. When we come back, we're taking it to the professor.